My second upload today for the 18th of the 2nd, 2020 is with regard to the other aspects of human rights violations that have been occurring. Basically, this matter also involves faith, religion and ancestry, genealogy and hereditary bloodlines. So basically, as I've mentioned, there's been issues of not just financial theft but identity theft and also misinformation about backgrounds and past experiences. So as I've mentioned, there's been inviolability of my dwellings on a few occasions, and there's been violations of my faith and my genealogy records. I'm consisting basically of very interesting bloodlines. The bloodlines of my family have traces from all over Europe and are quite interesting. So basically, the other serious matter about all of this is individuals that are laying claim to a family name, and basically family name without what I would consider acceptable, that I would consider unethical, that I would consider quite unusual, and also just very unusual. Basically, we all have an identity, we all have our family history, our own family bloodlines, whatever, but in this circumstance there's the very serious issue of information being altered and records being altered also. So this matter that has occurred is highly disrespectful due to the spiritual violence I've also experienced, and also due to the disrespect that has been shown to my light body and the gifts, light and blessings that I had worked for and achieved as a light worker, as a royal angelic light worker. So a part of this vendetta by the individuals guilty of violating the Human Rights Declaration is not only the alteration of my background, my personal information, and the violations of my right to family, etc., and my right to earn and my right to property, etc. All of these also involve individuals basically violating my identity. This is an issue of identity theft and ancestral assault that people are also aware of, and the practices and the expense and trouble that is being caused in this situation is highly disrespectful. That's all I can describe it as. The individuals that are trying to lay claim to a family name and such things associated with that family name have done so unethically and unlawfully, and have also tried to cause further offences with this issue of injustice that's been perpetrated against me. Now, there's also like the bigger concerns about other people's rights in this situation, and how people have falsified the origins of the characters and individuals involved that are trying to be what they aren't and that aren't what they are. So this is how morbid a situation this is. Identity theft is quite serious. Violating a person's property and premises is very serious, and inflicting poverty on a person that has been qualified as a teacher and that has earned and provided and cared and been, very seriously wronged is just how dangerous circumstance has been caused in society by these people that have orchestrated all of this. So the other matter of what I'm discussing is not just the identity theft and the violations with regard to family bloodlines and family name and family heritage, and people trying to rewrite history, and people trying to you know, lay claim to a family name that they have no connection to whatsoever, is just one aspect. But what I keep reiterating as a peace campaigner and a humanitarian that is experiencing these violations in 2020 in a democracy is absolutely scandalous. I've been working in recovery since 2006 after I experienced sexual assault and revenge porn. And there are now individuals that keep making a bad situation worse without compensating or repairing or explaining their actions and damages that they've done. So the politicians, as I've mentioned, are fully aware of this circumstance. They've not confronted me, they've not acknowledged what I've experienced, and they've not rectified any of the physical damages done during the issues of medical incompetence being caused for me. So basically, I've mentioned in my previous uploads about my family background that I'm, you know, pretty precious about, because that's my identity, and there isn't any other person able to play the same role as me and my family, as I wouldn't be able to play that role for anyone else's you know, position in their family. So, you know, we all have an identity, we're all unique, and people trying to be what they're not and trying to you know, falsify their own identity is really an issue of serious mental illness. So the things that I'm concerned about also, besides identity and privacy and bodily integrity and, you know, everyone's right to healthcare and whatnot, is also the issue of peacekeeping and peace campaigning and assisting victims that have experienced sexual assault, domestic violence, etc. So since 2006 I've been working in recovery, and my background is in addiction studies, self-taught, self-study, self-experience, do you know what I mean? And a lot of the work that I have done is unpaid, and not begrudgingly, but, you know, to be now experiencing these offences, and for authorities in particular to be turning a blind eye, is just a very sad sign of the times. So the spiritual violence, as I've said, that has occurred is, you know, it's indescribable. Anyone that's ever experienced such an occurrence would be able to identify with me. But ancestral assault is a little bit more serious when it comes down to falsification of birth origins and personal records and personal history and personal information. So this is what's happening in this experience also of human rights violations and hate crime. And the very serious part about this, as a peace campaigner and as a humanitarian that has represented this country respectfully and proudly in other countries, is that this is actually highly offensive and is highly disrespectful. So there's a lot more I could say, but I'll just keep these uploads quite brief and short, and just for people to understand farther afield how this situation is. Identity theft is occurring. There are also the issues of retaliatory actions, as being a citizen that has experienced wrongdoings and that hasn't been given any recompense or any compensation for all the harm and damages that have been perpetrated. So it's very serious. It's very shocking that this is 2020 democracy Ireland, democratic Ireland, and as regards my identity and as regards my birthrights and my genealogical background, I take exception to the officials and individuals that are altering information and that are misrepresenting my hereditary, and that are assisting those that are laying claim to a name that they don't have any right to. And as regards the physical violations, the bodily integrity violations of, you know, a spiritual light worker. All I can say is that the body of light that has been destroyed has now also been disrespected very severely. So this is what's happening in this vendetta, and as I've mentioned, as a person reporting or that has reported these offences, as an individual that has been violated and lied about, and who is being victimised by individuals or individuals, an individual that is very guilty for very serious offences against humanity, and that is, you know, causing quite serious problems. I'm just curious as to how the authorities and the relevant agencies haven't yet confronted the issue of those reports of complaints about the offences already perpetrated. So that's all I have to say for this upload with regards to identity, ancestral assault, spiritual violations, and whistleblower protection. Basically, that, as you know, a law-abiding citizen, I am entitled to. And that's as much for this upload, and I hope that clarifies further to what I've already expressed about how serious the circumstances are when identity theft is also being perpetrated.